people risked their lives on the mighty Mississippi to reach a hidden passageway that modern technology is helping to preserve.
Partly to honor Black History Month, an all-new 4-part CanCon miniseries called Underground Railroad: The Secret History launches tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern as part of Discovery's free preview. The documentary employs archaeology, state-of-the-art tech, and generations of oral and written tradition insight to unlock some of the continuing mysteries behind this clandestine network that helped thousands of African-American slaves escape and find freedom here in Canada. And here with more is Underground Railroad's Secret History Director, Phil Daniels, and the producer, Margot Daly. Both of you, thanks for being here.
Good morning.
So good to see you.
Hi, George. Thanks for having us. So excited.
Phil, we'll start with you as a director. What is some of the new technology that was showcased here, and how did it help advance the narrative and turn what might have previously been lore and fiction into fact?
Yeah, I mean, one of the great things about this series is we get to analyze the Underground Railroad instead of just tell stories about it. And a couple of the really important things that come to play in the series are going to be things like GPR, ground penetrating radar. We're using things like LiDAR, which involves shooting lasers at the ground in order to delineate very small differences in the topography to allow us to see things that the eye couldn't ordinarily.
And Margot, the series also features the descendants of many of the freedom seekers. How did you sort of collect and connect those dots and fit them into this puzzle? Because it must have been very emotional.
Absolutely. And one of the things that, we're reminded of doing this show is, the enslavement period and freedom seekers, it's not that far removed. It's not ancient history. And we found over and over in talking to people, it's a few generations back. And so their descendants are all around us, and we talked to them both in the States, here in Canada, and their oral stories are what, in many cases, drove the research that corroborates. So technology is coming together with oral stories. And we feel like we're adding more to the conversation about the Underground Railroad because it was a secret network. Not much was ever written down, right, for obvious reasons. And so it's exciting to be a part of a series that's really adding new insight into this important chapter in history.
Phil, how organized and centralized was the Underground Railroad movement, and who was helping these slaves to freedom on the other end of the journey?
Well, it's more important to think about the Underground Railroad as a network, as a freedom network, as an escape system, insofar as what the backbone of it was is really Black community, something I looked into really until this series, and certainly in a TV kind of way. So you're looking at networks of people and communities and people making choices to make things happen, and that's really what it's about.
Margot, we tend to get pulled into the African-American experience of America, right? Culturally, socially, economically, academically, but the Afro-Canadian, Caribbean diaspora, I mean, the origin story here in this country, much different, right? Are new chapters going to be written in this story north of the border from what you've explored and discovered?
Well, 100%. And that's the beautiful thing. I mean, Black history, there's so many components and elements. And in this particular show, we are looking at the descendants who came up through different networks to Canada, who established communities. Some of them are practically erased. We hardly know about them. And we were able to chat with those folks who, again, go back 3-4 generations and have established lives in Canada, but perhaps all that's left is cemetery grave markers. But we're able to retell that story. And so we're hopeful that this will spark new insights, new research, new archaeology to uncovering those stories on this side of the border, because we were the terminal and we just often don't know what happened when people came here. It was a complex situation. So
yeah, and so timely, Phil, with Black History Month, but also, just the technology you're using. The moment anybody hears ground penetrating radar these days, they always, our minds go to the residential schools and what's happening there, and all those unmarked graves that are being uncovered across the country. Likely, we're going to be seeing that throughout North America and all the Americas.
Absolutely will, and I think you mentioned the country to the south of us a moment ago. I think we as Canadians are going to be going through a pretty serious collision with our own history, a lot of times using these technologies. So it's interesting that people are starting to use them in ways more than just surveying for highways or something like that. We're starting to get on the highways fast, which is pretty cool.
And Margot, the parallels to, what's happening with Central American and Mexican immigrants flooding the American southern border, fleeing violence today, not lost on me.
Well, tonight's episode really focuses on a route that went the other way, the southern route, a route that most Canadians most people might not appreciate. And so there was a time that before Canada actually abolished slavery, that freedom seekers, enslaved people were making their routes south to Spanish territory, whether it was Florida and Mexico. And the Rio Grande sort of plays into that, as you will see tonight. So, yes, you're 100% right. There's a parallel with what's happening.
Premiere episode tonight. I'm sorry to cut you off. The premiere episode tonight is Seeking Southern Sanctuary. The series is called Underground Railroad, The Secret History. Director Phil Daniels, producer Margot Daly. This is required viewing for everyone out there during Black History Month, I say, on Discovery at 8 p.m. Thank you both, folks. Good luck with the series. We'll all be watching. All right, it's time now for headlines. Bye-bye.
Thanks, George.